We begin today at the Mishnah at the bottom of Kuf Zayin Amud Beis. Zakt Heilige Mishnah. Mi shahalach lemedinas hayam. Person traveled overseas, and he didn't leave food for his wife. Va'amad echad u'pirnas esishtay. A person came and he feeds this person's wife. So now what happens? Now the husband comes back. This person says, "Hey, I was taking care of your wife all this time. Pay me back." Chanan Aimer, so Chanan says, "Ibedis ma'asav." He lost his money. Nobody asked him to go and feed his wife. So whatever he did is going to be a mitzvah, tzedakah, but he's not getting paid back for this. The Bnei Kohanim argued on Chanan v'amru, and they said, "Yishava kama haitzi." He'll swear how much it is that he spent to feed his wife, and v'yito, and he will get paid back. Rashi here explains that this machlokes between Chanan and the Bnei Kohanim Gedolim is in a case where this person just comes along and feeds this woman. He sees Nebuchadnezzar Rachmanis, she has nothing to eat, and he feeds her. But what's if he clearly made a deal with her? He said to her clearly, "I'm only lending you this money, and then in the right time when you have money, you got to pay me back." So then when the husband comes back, and he's going to come, he doesn't have to go directly to the husband. He goes to her and says, "No, pay me back." And then she goes to her husband, and she says to her husband, "Give me money for me to be able to pay back." This whole thing was just a loan. So if he made it clear it was a loan, Chanan would agree that he's getting paid back. Here we're talking about a case where the person doesn't say anything. He didn't say, "I'm blending money." He just came and gave money to this woman that her husband owes her money. Her husband owes her money, and he just comes and gives her the money instead of the husband without saying anything. So then Chanan says that he doesn't get paid back. There's an interesting Tosfos here. Tosfos says, why shouldn't this be similar to a halacha that says in the Gemara Bava Metzia, if you go down to a person's property without his permission, and you go and you improve it, you do work there, and he never asks you to do anything. The halacha is that a property owner does have to pay you to some extent. Yeah, it does have to pay you for the work that you did. It doesn't have to pay you for the whole improvement, but for whatever you spent on it, he does have to pay you. So over here, the fact is that this husband owes this money to his wife, and you went and you did a work for him, so to speak, or you went and paid something for him. Why shouldn't he have to pay you back, according to Chanan? So the answer, the Rishonim have various answers to this. The answer that Tosfos says is, in the case of the property, you have right over here, this property, that its condition was changed. In front of your eyes, you see Be'en, how it's different. It's not the same property as it was before. He took out the stones and he improved it and he made it a much better property. So therefore, in such a case, he has to pay. But over here, the money you gave to this Isha and she used and she ate, the improvement that's here, there's no improvement be'en. You can't say that there's a condition of something that has in front of her eyes that's different. So you paid for somebody, but she was alive the same as she was when he left. She's the same person. Okay, speaking about eating food and being alive. Okay, so the Gemara says, Mishnah continues, Omer Rav Doisa ben Harkenes kidivreya. Rav Doisa ben Harkenes agreed to the Bnei Kohanim Gedolim. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, no, Yafa ma Chanan. Chanan is actually right. He niach ma'asav al keren atzvi. He placed his money on the horns of a deer that's running away, and even if you can't reach that deer, or that's what the mashal is, you can't reach the deer, and this is money you're never going to get back. Okay, but again, as I mentioned before, the Mefarshim do point out, it doesn't mean that what you did was not beneficial. You just did a mitzvah of tzedakah. But don't expect, you do a mitzvah of tzedakah, don't expect to get paid back. Zakta Gemara, Tanan Hasam, we learned the following Mishnah regarding in Masechta Nedarim, regarding a person that makes a neder. Hamudar anoah mechaveirei. Person makes a neder not to have any benefit of his friend. And according to Rashi, as we'll see in the continuation of this Mishnah, we're talking about two people, Reuven and Shimon, they made a neder, each not to have anoah from each other. However, the Mishnah says, Shaikaloi is shikloi. You're allowed to give the machzas shekel for the friend that's not allowed to have anor for you. You can do the mitzvah for him and give the machzas shekel for him. And the Gemara will soon explain why this is not considered to be giving him a benefit. You could pay up a loan for him that he owes. And also machzas. And if you find an item that belongs to this person that he lost, you can return it to him. In a place where the custom is that people get paid for returning a lost item, even though this is really a mitzvah. So Rashi here says that you get schar for the tircha of returning it, and the other Mefarshim add to that this just means schar betela. You get schar for the fact that you're bottled from other work that you could have done, so then you can't take the schar from your friend. Because there's a neder, they don't have a no from each other. So what do? Tipul anah lahektish. So that anah of pay would go to hektish. This is the Mishnah that it says in the Dara. So now the Gemara will explain each one of these details in this Mishnah, why you're allowed to do this with somebody that you made a neder not to have enough from him, he's not having enough from you. It's understood why you're allowed to give the machzas shekel for him, because mitzvah ka'avid. All that you're doing is you're doing a mitzvah for him. Now what this means is there's actually 2 points to what this means. In the words of the Gemara, what the Gemara is saying is, even if your friend would not give machzas shekel, he would have a part in the karbanis. What's done with machzas shekel? They buy all the karbanis tzibah for this in order for all the Klal Yisrael to have a part in the carbon. Even if a person does not give the machzas shekel, so he has a part in this carbon. So when you're giving it for him, you're not now giving him the benefit of having a part of the carbon through this mitzvah. Even without that, he would have that part of the carbon. How do we know this? The Tanan or the Tanya, it says in the Braise, Toimen ala avod. When they separate all again, we learned this actually not long ago over here in the Masechta. It spoke about how it worked with machzas shekel. All the machzas shekel was brought into a lishka, to a chamber, and then every so often, or 3 times a year, they would separate the machzas shekel from there to be used for karbanis. Now, when they separate that money from the machzas shekel, so termin ala avod, they're separating the money also for a person that donated machzas shekel, but he sent it with someone and it got lost. Valagavoy, or money that was already collected from someone for the machzas shekel, but it didn't yet arrive into the Beis Hamikdash. So the money that's being separated from the lishka, from the chamber, to be used for the karbanis is going to be for the benefit of that person as well. He has a part in this. Vala asad ligbais, and even for something that in the future is going to be collected. Someone that did not give machzas shekel yet. Even if in the future, if he's only going to give it in the future, the machzas shekel that's being separated and the karbanos are bought from it is for that individual as well. Okay, so here there's actually machlekes Rashi and Tosfos. According to Rashi, even if this person will not ever in the future end up giving machzas shekel, the karbanos that are being brought is going to be for that yid as well. So therefore, you over here that gave this machzas shekel for your friend, it's not you that now gave him a part on the carbon. Even without you giving it, he has a part on the carbon. Tosfos, however, says the lashon over here is asad ligbais, that in the future you're gonna collect from him. If he never ends up giving, so then he does not have a part in the carbon. So if so, you did cause him to have a benefit of the carbon by giving machzas shekel for him. So Tosfos says the case over here is going back in the first part of that braise, ala avad valagovi, that's talking about that you gave for your friend that already gave his machzas shekel, but it got lost on the way, or it was collected, it didn't arrive yet to the Beis Hamikdash, and for him, for your friend that did that, you gave for him the machzas shekel because it got lost. He wants to replace. So then you did no benefit for him because he gave already. He for sure has a part on the carbon without you giving it. But in a case where he didn't give anything at all, and he's not ever going to give, according to Tosfos, if you give for him, you actually are giving him a part in the karbanos. Okay, so that's what the Gemara is saying. Now there's another detail over here besides what the Gemara is saying with Fedish, which the Mefarshim discuss, and that is the mitzvah of giving. You're a shliach for your friend to do this mitzvah for him. The Gemara is discussing whether you are giving him the benefit of having a part in the carbon. And that the Gemara says, no, you're not giving him that benefit of having a part of the carbon, he has a part anyways. How about the very mitzvah itself? When you give, you're doing the mitzvah for him, he now gets a mitzvah through you. So why is that considered to be giving him a benefit? So the answer is, in Rashi it's mashma, he actually does not get a mitzvah. The act of the mitzvah you did. You're a shliach to give the machzas shekel for him, but you did the act of the mitzvah. The shlichus does not help for him to be the one that did the act of the mitzvah. You did the act of the mitzvah. The only thing that it helps for is that now he has a portion of the karbanis. And that, the Gemara says, no, he does not have the portion in the karbanis because of you, because he would have had anyways. Or even if you're going to say that the shlichus here even helps, that the act of the mitzvah that you did, it's as if he did it, but we know the klal regarding mitzvahs lav lahanis nitna. Mitzvahs are not done, the act of a mitzvah is not something which is considered to be a hana, a benefit that you have. It's not an union of a pleasure, it's a mitzvah. You're doing it to Ratzon of Hashem. So therefore, even if when you do the act, it's as if he did it, you're not giving him any hana on this. So this is the explanation regarding machzas shekel. The next thing the Gemara asks,
Tosfos holds that the covenant tamid is not for everybody if you don't pay.
If you never end up giving, it will not be for him, correct? You won't have a part in it. The next thing the Gemara says, when it says in the Mishnah there, that you're allowed to return to this person that's not allowed to have hana of you, so you give him back his lost item. So Nami, the reason this is allowed is mitzvah kavet. You're doing a mitzvah by returning to him this lost item. The item itself belongs to him, right? You're not giving him something that's not his. The fact that you're working hard, you're being matriach, you found it, and you're going and you're returning it to him, that's your mitzvah you have. So you're not giving him a benefit in that sense by the mitzvah that you're doing. Elo, however, perelo is chayvai. But when you go and pay someone's loan, how are you allowed to pay a loan for somebody that's not allowed to have enough from you? You're definitely saving him money. He's definitely giving him a benefit by the fact that you're paying him his loan. So the Gemara answers, the answer here is, Hamani Chanani. The answer here is that this Mishnah there in Nedarim is going according to Chanan. The Amar Chanan said in our Mishnah a similar thing. This person that goes and feeds this woman lost his money. So it's basically the same kind of a thing. The husband owes her money. And you come along and pay up this money that the husband owes without asking him, without saying that I'm lending the money. You just go and do a favor. You go and pay it. So what you did has nothing to do with the husband that owed the money. He never asked you to do this. He's not going to owe you to give you back the money. So the same thing over here. If this person goes along and pays up a loan for somebody that's not allowed to have hana from him without being asked, without being told, that person's not mechuyev to pay you back. What you did has nothing to do with that person. You gave him no benefit at all. Again? The fact is he doesn't have to pay his and a chanami, but that has nothing to do, that's not a direct benefit, that's not a benefit that he's getting from you. He never asked you to do that for him. You're paying the chayiv, and whatever hana comes out of that has nothing to do with you. Okay, so
he owes you the money then?
Again? No, he doesn't owe you the money. He never asked you to pay up this loan. He never asked you to do this. You went and paid up this money. Okay, so finished. What does it have to do with that person? That's the whole point that Chanan said over here. When you go and give money without anybody asking you, so then the person that you gave it to, that now it benefits somebody else, it's not considered that you brought benefit to him. If according to Chanan, if the pshat would over here would be that I brought benefit to the husband, so therefore the husband should be chayiv to pay back. The fact that Chanan is saying that the husband is not chayiv to pay back this man that gave the benefit for him, for the wife that he owes money to, that means that Chanan is saying that we don't consider this to be that you gave a benefit for the husband. You did a mitzvah tzedakah, but it has nothing to do with the husband. Well, he's not chayiv to pay back. The same thing over here. You pay money for this person that owes someone money, so it has nothing to do with him. You didn't give him any benefit. You just did a mitzvah tzedakah, your own personal mitzvah tzedakah.
You did a benefit for that person.
Huh?
For the life you did it.
Yeah, exactly. For the person that got the payment, for the wife that got the payment, it's a benefit, but not for the person that owed the money. You have nothing to do with him. That's according to Chanan. Okay, but now the Gemara says, Rava says, Rabbanon. We could even say that Mishnah there goes according to the Rabbanon that says that the husband will have to pay you back. Meaning, when you give the wife money, the husband did benefit, and therefore you should have to pay it back. So over here the question would be, according to the Rabbanon, how could you pay a loan for this person that you're not allowed to give him any anah? So the answer is, Hachab Ma'askinon, over there when it speaks about you paid a person's loan, speaking about a unique loan. Shalova almanah shaloi lefroya. Person borrowed money with the condition that he doesn't have to pay back. Now, this doesn't mamish literally mean that he doesn't have to pay back, but what it means is, usually you borrow money, so then the person you borrowed the money from has the right to always come and demand money from you. Over here, you borrowed the money with a condition, you can't ever demand any money from me. If I decide to pay you back, I'll pay you back. If I decide not to pay you back, I don't have to pay you back. So therefore, over here, when you come and pay up this person's loan, you didn't give him any benefit. Even if you wouldn't have paid up the loan, I would not have to pay it. The malva doesn't have the right to demand the money from me. That's what we're talking about over here. No star, yes star, no star doesn't make a difference if it's a star or not. 1 second, it's a condition that the malva does not have the right to demand the money from you. So when you go and pay this money, you're just doing a mitzvah tzedakah, because I wouldn't have to pay this loan. Okay, so those are the two pshatim in this brais. In the Mishnah over there in the Darim, whether it can go according to Chanan or even according to the Chachamim. Says the Gemara, we understand why Rava did not want to say that Mishnah there goes like Rav Ishia said, because the Maikim look at Rabbanan. He wants to explain that Mishnah should be according to the majority opinion, according to the Rabbanan. Ela Rav Ishia, my time Rava. Why did Rav Ishia not want to say that Mishnah would be, even according to the Rabbana, like Rava explained, that we could say it's speaking about a loan where the person is not obligated to pay it back. So Rav Aishia will answer you, he disagrees with this thing. Why? True, when you pay up a loan, that person was not obligated to pay back because he made a condition that you can't demand the money from me. So true, you're not giving me a monetary benefit, but kisufa mi lesle. Isn't there an embarrassment here? If you borrow money from someone, a guy gives you $1,000, even if you made a condition with him that you can't demand the money from me, but every time you see him and you never paid him back, there's a certain embarrassment. So the fact that you paid the money from him, you are giving him a benefit. That you take away that embarrassment. And he's not allowed to have that honor from you. So therefore, it can't go according to the Rabbanan. Now, there's some that actually take out this next line in the Gemara over here, but if we read the next line in the Gemara, the Bach adds over here, Lishna Chrine, according to another version, this, that he takes away your embarrassment, goes even a step further. I'm saying the Pshat over here that the Marav Ranjburg explains. Hasam Nami, Isle Hano. Over there, even in this case where we said that you don't have to pay back the loan, you made a condition that he can't collect it from you, but nevertheless, the very fact that this person is embarrassed from his malva that he lent them the money, this is considered to be a real anah. In other words, the difference, according to this pshat in the Gemara, between the first lashon and this lishna achrina is, the first lashon it's saying it's not a real monetary hana, it's just a hana that he's taking away embarrassment. According to the second pshat, what it's saying is isle hana, that it's a real benefit. It's equivalent to a monetary benefit. So much so you can maybe even say a person would be ready to pay somebody some money to go and get rid of this embarrassment for him. This has monetary value to it. It is a real hana. So therefore, Rav Aishia disagrees with Rava that the case there is that he made up that he's not going to collect it, and therefore you can pay this. No, it is removing embarrassment, and therefore it is still a hana, even a real hana, that you're giving this person. Okay. So in the beginning of the Perek here, it said that there was Chanan that argued with the Chachamim in his times, and there were two halachas that he argued, and those were the two first missions we learned here. And now there's Admain. Admain was from the other Dayanim in Yerushalayim, and he said 7 halachas. Admain Oim Shiva. He said 7 halachas, and he argued with the Chachamim in his times. So we're going to have 7 different halachas over here, and these halachas, most of them have not necessarily a connection to the subjects of Masech Kesubos. Mishameis, the person passed away. V'iniach banamu banis, and he left sons and daughters. So now, what happens with the inheritance here? Bisman shanachasim merubin, when there's enough money, there's a lot. So then what happens is abanim yarshim. The sons are the ones that there's the halach of Yerusha, they're yarshin. V'abanis nizainis. And then the daughters, they just get fed, and they get no Yerusha. But if there's very little money or the very little properties, and what does that mean? So Rashi brings from what it says in the Gemara in Baba Basra. That means that there's not enough for 12 months to feed the children. So then if there's so little properties or money, so then what happens? Habonos. Where am I over here? 1 second. So then we take all this money and we don't give any inheritance to the sons. The banis are the ones that get all the money for their food. And the sons get no money, no inheritance, and no money for their food, and they are going to have to go knock on doors and collect money for themselves. Okay. However, Adman disagreed. Adman says, the sons, the Zcharim, they say, because I'm a male, hifsadati, so therefore I lose out, I don't need to eat. Why should in such a case where there's not enough to feed everybody, why should we say that the daughters get fed and the sons get nothing at all? I mean, obviously, as Rashi says, this is a takanas chachamim. Minat Torah, the sons are the ones that get the inheritance. This whole thing is a takanas chachamim, that in such a case, we want the daughters to get fed, and therefore we take it all away from the sons, and the daughters give it. That's what chachamim said. Adma said, no. The sons say that we should get also something to be able to eat. Amar Rabbi Gamliel said, Rayani is divrei Admai. I agree to what Admai said. Zakta Gemara, Maika Omar. What is this that Adman is saying? They say that because I'm a Zachar, I should lose. It seems like he's saying that a Zachar actually has a stronger reason why Dafki he should be fed. And maybe the daughters, they should be the ones knocking on the door. What are they saying with this? Amar Abaye, so Abaye says what they were saying is as follows: Hachi Kama, B'shvil shani zacha v'roi lasik b'teire, because I'm a zachar and I have a mitzvah to learn teire, so therefore I'm in a higher level. So if saditis, no, because of this I should lose out. A zachar is the one that has to have the peace of mind to be able to sit and learn and be fed, so he shouldn't have to go knocking on doors. So Adarab, the daughters that don't have a mitzvah to learn teire, they should be the ones that should have to go around collecting money for themselves. Amalei Rav responds to this pshat of Abaye. Man da asik b'teire hu di yaris, man da lo asik b'teire lo yaris. This is the mile of the zachar. The mile of the zachar is that if he learns teire, he yarshins his father. If he does not learn teire, he does not yarshin his father. It's nothing to do with the mitzvah, the halacha, or the idea of Yerusha. It has nothing to do with learning teire or not. So the taina of the zacharim of here, that they're saying that because we are a zachar, why are we losing out? It's not lav dafka a zachar that learns teire. Every zachar has an advantage, the fact that he gets Yerusha. So Elam Rava, so therefore Rava says, Hachikama. This is what they mean to say. B'shvil shani zachar v'roi liresh. The very fact that I'm a zachar, we see the Torah says that I'm the one that's supposed to yarshin the father. B'nechasim merubim, when there's enough money here. If sadati b'nechasim mu'atim, so now Chachamim are going to be misakin to such an extent that when there's nechasim mu'atim, not enough to feed everybody, the daughters get everything and I get nothing. So therefore they disagreed. So machlokes. Zok Teilige Mishneh, the next halacha where there was an argument between the Chachamim and Admain. So Chatayin es Chaveiroi, a person comes and makes a claim to his friend, Kadei Shemen, that you owe me the jugs of oil. V'hoide b'kankanim. And his friend says, yes, I have jugs that belong to you, but no oil, empty jugs. Admin Oimer, so Admin says, Hoy v'hoide b'miktzah satayne, since you're admitting part of the claim, you shava. So you have to swear. This is the halacha minat Torah of Maida b'miktzas. If you admit part of a claim, so you have to swear. So over here, you were being the claim was the jugs and oil, and you just admitted the jugs, so you have to swear. Chachamim say there's no shvur here. Einoi das miktzas mi minatayne. What you're being maided to is not of the same min that you were being asked for. You were being asked the jugs and the oil, and you were maided just that you have the jugs without the oil. So this is you being maided to a min that you weren't asked for. The Gemara is going to explain this. We'll see. So therefore, in such a case, there's no halacha of maida b'miktzas. Amar Rabbi Gamliel says, Royani is divrei Admon. I agree to what Admon said. Okay, so says the Gemara, Shema mina l'Rabbanan. How do we understand the opinion of the Rabbanan? He asked him for oil and the jugs with the oil as well, and you're admitting only to the jugs. So you are admitting to part of what he asked. So why is he saying that it's not the same min? He asked you for 2 minim, and you admitted to one of those 2 minim. So why shouldn't this be considered to be a maidim miktzas? Says the Gemara, Shema min l'Rabbanan. So according to the Rabbanan, what we see from here is, Ta neichit nisayrin. If your friend comes and claims that you owe him wheat and barley, and you only admit to the fact that you owe barley, pater. So you're pater of making a shvua, because you're only being maided to one min. There's one min that you're completely denying, and there's one min that you're completely admitting. That's not called maided b'miktzas. Maided b'miktzas means if he had asked of you 1 min, or let's say if asked of you money, and you admit to half of that amount of money, or half of that min. But if he's asking of you 2 minim, and you're only being maided to one of those 2 minim, that's not a maided b'miktzas. So this is what we see the Rabbanan's opinion is. So now, if so, if so, this refutes the opinion of Rav Nachman that said in the name of Shmuel. No, Rav Nachman regarding this exact case. And your friend claims that you owe him wheat and barley, and you admit one of them, chayiv. You are chayiv to make a shvuah, according to Rav Nachman's understanding, because you're being maided to one of those minim that your friend asked for. So you are maided b'miktzas. You're being maided to half of the claim that he asked. So Rav Yehuda answers, Amarav, the name of Rav, the way to understand our Mishnah is, when the Mishnah said that the friend was claiming that you owe him kadei shemen, he wasn't asking and saying, you owe me the oil together with the jugs. It just says in the Mishnah, kadei shemen, saying this amount. He says, the amount of these jugs, that's how much oil you have of me. But he was only asking him for oil. And you will made it for what? That you owe jugs. So he asked you for 1 min, and for that mean you totally denied, and you're being made for something totally different. So therefore, in such a case, there's no made b'miktzas at all. That's the case of our Mishnah. If that's the case of the Mishnah, if so, then what would be the reason why Admon would disagree? Why would Admon say that in such a case you're still considered to be a made b'miktzas? This is what's always known in the Gemara. He asks you for one thing and you made something completely different. Taisus here points out that the emes is that Rabbi Gamliel, which says in the Mishnah, Royani is Divri Admai, in another place Rabbi Gamliel does say, Tane chitim v'haidlei b'sayrin, you are chayiv in the Shavuot of Maidim and Miktzas. Right, so here the Gemara says, my time at Admin, the Gemara simply could have said, Admin holds, even Tane chitim v'haidlei b'sayrin, you are chayiv in a Shavuot. But Taisus says the Gemara wants Admin's opinion to fit with Rav Nachman, la halacha that we hold that Tane chitim v'haidlei b'sayrin is potter. So therefore Rava says a different shot. The Kula Alme, there's various cases over here, and the Gemara goes through them. There's 3 different scenarios. The Kula Alme, everybody would agree, if your friend comes and claims as follows, Maloi asare kade shemen yeshli bebeirech. I have the amount of what could be contained in 10 jugs of oil, I have it in your pit. So he's not asking at all for jugs. He's just using the jugs as a measure for the amount. And he says, I have oil by you in your pit. So he's shemen katoinle. He's only asking for oil. Kakanim loy katoinle. He never asked him for the jugs. And therefore, if the person is being made that he owes jugs, so in such a case he'd be potted. Tani chitin vaydle besayden. So that everybody agrees. On the other hand, Asara, another case, if he said, Asara kadei shemen meleyim yeshli etzlach. He clearly spelled out, I'm asking for the jugs that are full with oil in them. So he was claiming that you owe both the jugs and the oil that they're filled with. So in such a case, shemen v'kankanim katonle. So he's asking you for oil and the jugs. And what's the opinion of Nachman Mashmul? Then in such a case, you'd be chayiv to make a shvuah, because that's tani chitin v'sa'ayrim v'haydlei b'sayrim. So in such a case, there would be no machlekes in our Mishnah. What is the machlekes in our Mishnah? Ki pligi. When our Mishnah uses the expression kadei shemen, what does the Mishnah mean? Heichida amalei. It's when a person tells his friend, Asara kadei shemen yeshli etzlach. I have 10 jugs of oil by you. Right? So over here, it's not clear what he meant. He didn't say that I have the amount of 10 jugs of oil in your pit. On the other hand, he didn't use the term malayim, saying that I'm asking for the 10 jugs filled with oil. He just said, Asara kadishem, 10 jugs of oil. So it's not clear. So their argument is really, how do we interpret the claim itself? Admin says, Yesh b'loshen hazeh loshen kankanim. When he uses this expression, the way to understand it is, he's claiming that he owes him both the oil and the jugs. That's what he was asking for. He's asking for both. And therefore, if you're admitting to the jugs, this is a maide b'miktzas. You're being maide to part of what he asked for you. So this is tani chitim v'sa'ayrim v'haydolei b'sayrim. So you chayav a shvuah, like Rav Nachman said. But Rabbanan say, Ein b'loshen hazeh loshen kankanim. This kind of a claim does not mean that he was asking for the jugs as well. He was just using the jugs to say how much oil there is, and therefore he's asking you for the oil, and you're admitting to the jugs, so therefore you're not admitting to anything that he asked for, so therefore that's tani chit and vayd lebesayden, and you'll be potter. So in essence, the only reason that Rabbanan are disagreeing is because they understand the whole claim originally differently. They say that the claim was only for the oil. That explains how Rav Nachman can fit with our Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Sana Ella time. According to this, how are we understanding now that Rabbanan? The only reason that Rabbanan disagree is because the Ein B'Lashon Hazeh Lashon Kankanim. Because this kind of a claim is only a claim for oil. It's not a claim for the jugs. But Yesh B'Lashon Hazeh Lashon Kankanim. If it would be clear, if we would say that this lashon does include that he was claiming from you both the oil and the jugs, so in such a case, chayiv, that Rabbanan would agree to Admain and they would say that you chayiv to make a shvuah. If so, says the Gemara, now there's the arguing opinion. Till here we're discussing Rav Nachman. But now there's the other opinion that the Gemara will quote now that disagrees with Rav Nachman. If so, so this would refute Rav Chia bar Abba's opinion. Rav Chia bar Abba said about what Rav Nachman said. If someone claims you owe him wheat and barley and you're admitting to one of them, potter. Rav Chia bar Abba says, argue with Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, he says that you're potter. So, according to the pshat that Rav Nachman gave for the Mishnah, so this would be a question on their opinion. According to Rav Nachman's pshat, it comes out that the Rabbanan would agree that in a case where he's claiming that you owe oil and the jugs and the oil, and you agree only to the jugs, so you'd be chayiv a shvuah. So how could they say potter? Amar Rav Shimi Barashi. So Rav Shimi Barashi Nasa has a different point there. Nasa over here in the case of our Mishnah is different than chitim and sairim. Why? Because over here, when you talk about oil in the jugs, Nasa kimishatana ribmaim beklipasai. Over here, it's like a person that's saying, you owe me pomegranates, and the pomegranates come along with the peels. So it's really one thing. It's not considered to be like two distinct minim. Chitim and sa'irim are two distinct minim. So a person that's asking you for chitim and sa'irim, you're only being made in sa'irim, you're being made in one min, and the other min you're completely denying. Chitim and, rimay b'klipasai, it's really one pedi. So even if you're agreeing that you owe the rimain and not the klippe, it's all part of the same min, it's part of the same pedi. So the same thing also is with the oil and the jugs that contain the oil, it's considered to be one min really. So therefore in such a case, the opinion of Rav Chia bar Abba doesn't apply. But the Gemara doesn't agree with this analogy. Maskef le Ravina, but Ravina asked on this, rimain b'loi klipasai le minter. The pomegranate without the peels is not protected, meaning if the fruit can't grow without the peels on it, and even after it grows, it can't exist without the peels. It's part and parcel of the fruit itself. Shemen, mint, oil, it could survive. You could have the oil without the jugs. You put the oil in a pit and you store it that way. It doesn't have to be together with the jugs. How can you consider this to be mamish like one min, like a fruit that's one min? Elo, so therefore to answer the question on Rav Chia bar Abba's opinion, the Gemara changes over here. So until here, the way we understood our Mishnah is that he's denying the shemen and he's agreeing to the kankanim. Right? But now the Gemara is going to change and say that even in the kankanim itself, part of it he's denying, part of it he's agreeing. That's why over here the Rabbanan say you make a shvur. So this has nothing to do with what we're speaking about. Tani chitin v'sa'idin v'haydalei b'sa'idin. Over here, even in the sa'idin, or in our case, really the kankanim, he's not being made fully in the kankanim, as the Gemara explains. According to Rav Chia bar Abba, what is our Mishnah speaking about? The Amalei. Person claims to his friend, Asara kadishem yesh li yatzlacha. I have 10 jugs of oil by you that you owe me. And his friend answers him, Shemen, regarding the oil, that he totally denies, I never took any oil from you. Kankanim, regarding the jugs, Nami, he's not fully agreeing to the kankanim. Chamisha islach, 5 jugs that you asked for, that I have, and the chamisha leslach, and 5 I don't. So even regarding the kankanim itself, he's a Maida b'miktzas. So regarding the kankanim, certainly there's a Maida b'miktzas and he has to make a shvua. There's no question about that. So now, what's the argument over here? Admin says, Yesh b'loshen hazel loshen kankanim. Similar to what we already explained before. So Admin says, when his friend was claiming from him, he was asking both for the oil and the jugs. And therefore, when you admitted to part of the jugs, so you're for sure a Maida b'miktzas regarding those jugs. Umigo de kamishtaba kankanim. Once you have to make a shvua as a Maida b'miktzas for the jugs, mishtaba nami yashem and al yidei gilgul. So now he can also be megalgal. He can roll the shvua regarding the oil as well. This is the halacha of gilgul shvua. Once you make a shvua on one matter, so he can also bring you to make a shvua on another part of the claim, even though it wasn't part of the original obligation of the shvua, and therefore you have to swear for both, even on the oil that you fully denied. But Rabbanan Savri, however, Rabbanan's opinion is, Ein b'loshen hazeh loshen kankanim. When your friend was asking you for the jugs, or for the oil rather, he wasn't really asking for the jugs. He said kadei shemen. Kadei shemen means really the oil, not the jugs. And therefore, when you were maida in the jugs, so what I say is, mashatanoi, even though regarding the jugs itself you wore a maida b'miktzas, you were maida in part of the jugs and you denied part of the jugs, but he never asked you for jugs at all. He only asked you for oil, and therefore there's no shvur in the first place at all over here. He never asked you for the jugs, and therefore there's no shvur on the jugs and there's no shvur on the oil either. That's the pshat in the Mishnah according to Rav Chia bar Abba.